This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The women of the left have been out in full force over the last 72 hours. You get your presidential announcements from Senators Warren and Klobuchar. You get your attendance at the pre-Grammy party by Nancy Pelosi. You get your weekly anti-Semitic tweet from Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. There's a lot of action going on, including the presidential candidates. And then, of course, AOC's GND. Green New Deal. You can't forget about that. And she's held forth on a number of important economic topics. She's quite attuned to market economics. She does, again, have a BA in economics from Boston University, and it's where she learned how things really work. For example, as she described in her conversation with Steve Inskeeper at NPR.
I think the first thing that we need to do is kind of break the mistaken idea that taxes pay for 100% of government expenditure. It's just not how government expenditure works. We can recoup costs, but oftentimes you look at, for example, the GOP tax cut, which I think was an irresponsible use of government expenditure, but government projects are often financed by a combination of taxes, deficit spending, and other kinds of investments, bonds and so on.
Well, I get that, but deficit spending is borrowing money that has to be paid back eventually through taxes.
Yeah, and I think that is always the crux of it. So when we decide to go into the realm of deficit spending, we have to do so responsibly. We ask, is this an investment, or is this actually going to pay for itself?
So you're saying borrow the money, make the investment, the economy will grow, we'll pay off the debt.
Sure,
Absolutely,
that sounds good.
Because we're creating jobs.
Steve Inskeep, I accidentally said Inskeeper because I think of Ocasio-Cortez as the Christ child.
Oh,
and so
there you go.
My bad on that.
Yeah.
And that was following her dissertation, Cozian quality on social costs and externalities. So it's been a dizzying weekend, in addition to just wrapping my mind around the idea that we're not going to have planes or cars, but we are going to have government jobs and guaranteed incomes and free college in no less than 12 years. It's exciting times. For more on these topics, we're pleased to be joined by Jay Nordlinger. He's a senior editor for National Review and a music critic for The New Criterion. I wonder if he watched the Grammys. Jay, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
All right. If I'll give you like a one-sentence review of Childish Gambino if you want. Otherwise, we can go to politics.
I'd like to hear the review.
Well,
Which awards did he win?
Well, my review of Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
It's just the illustration of the caricature of America offered by Hollywood. That's what his video is. That's what that song was.
This is America.
Yeah.
My son's
Don't get you slipping now.
Yeah, right.
I had to watch the whole show last
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. All right. So there's my one
Rap
sentence
is
review.
back, guys. That's all I can tell you.
Rap is back. Did it go away?
Well, for women, it's a big deal. Yeah, rap is back.
All right. So there's my one sentence review, Jay. So you can appropriate that for the New Criterion if you want.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So what about
you experienced? So you experienced it, so some of us wouldn't have to, I guess.
Precisely. You're welcome. What is your reaction to any of the above? I mean, all of the new women of the left and some of the old women of the left.
You put out a dizzying array. The most endearing thing I ever heard Claire McCaskill say, I think that was her name, the former senator from Missouri. She was giving an exit interview before leaving the Senate. And I think the interviewer brought up this AOC, this freshman House member from the Bronx. And she said, I really don't get why, and McCaskill said, I really don't get why she's the thing. I love that sentence, and I have borrowed that language. She is the thing. And she's just a freshman House member, and she's made this great big splash. And she seems to be not ready for prime time at all. Yeah. And she makes the Democratic Party as a whole seem unserious. But because she's popular on social media and so on, I think some of the wiser heads, and there are wiser heads, are reluctant right now to slap her down because she's a kind of heroine, almost a cult figure.
Right.
But
so much so that Netflix bought her documentary for $10 million, which is insane.
Incredible.
But don't you think this new Green Deal, though, is a gift for Republicans because her ideas are so crazy and not, supported financially?
A great gift. So you can say to regular Republicans and conservatives and right-leaning independents, look, you may have your reservations about Trump, but this is what the other side is offering. It's extreme and nuts and not in accord with American traditions. A huge gift to Republicans. It's true.
Well, and it's not even real. I mean, it's about as real as Cory Booker's imaginary friend T-Bone, right? Your colleague, Jonah Goldberg, writing in the New York Post, makes the point that's sort of lost in this, that what she proposed, by the way, and then now she's lying about as they're trying to revise it in real time. What she proposed, though, is just a resolution. Even if this resolution were to be voted up by the House, even by the Senate, it doesn't trigger anything. This is all just virtue signaling about, a better tomorrow where we're going to collectively save humanity somehow, some way.
Yeah, that's right. Most of this is symbolic, and she's just a House freshman, and it probably won't go anywhere, but it's indicative of a mentality. And the Republicans are able to say, look, you want these people in charge? Well, then you can kiss our prosperity goodbye. And I do have a comment, if I may, about, you mentioned this Minnesota congresswoman.
Oh, yeah.
Who is tweeting those lovely things. I think her case is, on one hand, outrageous, but on the other, tragic. Because to me, it's sort of thrilling to have a one-time refugee in Congress, a Muslim woman refugee in Congress. That's a classically American story. And she turns out to be the way she is, which is a letdown for a lot of people. And I think it's a great shame. Her fans, so to speak, deserve better, and we all deserve better. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. And he's talking about Ilhan Omar, the representative from Minnesota, who again was tweeting out anti-Semitic statements this weekend, suggesting that people who support Israel are, bought and paid for, wholly owned subsidiaries of AIPAC and other such things. And it's not. This isn't. The problem is, as you're pointing out, Jay, is this is not a one-off. This has been during her candidacy, this has been in her past, and now it's been during her brief tenure as a congresswoman.
Yeah, she's quite young, I think, and she might grow up, and she's entitled to her views, and Israel should not be off limits where criticism is concerned. But this woman seems to be just way, way, way off base, and I personally am sorry about it, because in other respects, her story is inspiring. And then when the rubber meets the road, when she's sworn in, we get this garbage.
You mentioned that AOC's GND is a great gift to Republicans. What about the pro-infanticide positions of Governors Cuomo and Northam, to say nothing of, all the blackface business? And by the way, coming this week, if you haven't heard, will be similar legislation in Illinois under our Governor Spalding. So, but what about that? The overreach on, abortion on demand all the time, outside of the womb, taxpayer funded, and that's not where the majority, even of those blue states, finds themselves.
Well, I think that's right. I was saying the other day that if the Democrats offer socialism and infanticide, they will lose. I hope they will lose and deserve it. This is. I remember thinking that, I think back to the 1992 presidential election, and I didn't like Bill Clinton very much, and that is the understatement of whichever century we're in, both centuries, let's call it.
Okay.
But my goodness, you look back on what Clinton believed, at least what he said, it seems like the soul of moderation and common sense compared with now. And this, about partial birth abortion, Senator Moynihan said, my gosh, it's tantamount to infanticide. And here, I think in these cases, we're not talking about partial birth abortion. We're talking about something more like born alive, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
And this is
murder.
to me, this is just bone-chilling stuff.
Well, and it also speaks to how much things have changed, as you're sort of getting to. In 2002, the Born Alive Infant Protection Act, now there was no enforcement mechanism in it, so this is why, in part, you got this vote. But still, 98-0 in the U.S. Senate, the Born Alive Infant Protection Act passed in 2002, including with the votes of Hillary Clinton and Ted Kennedy. Today, even if it was a resolution, you wouldn't get Democrats on board for that, most of them.
There is an extremism on abortion, because I think pro-choice or pro-abortion people sense that all of this is a kind of house of cards. And if you make one concession, one little concession on something like partial birth, on parental notification, something like that, if you give an inch, the whole thing will come tumbling down. I'm not sure they're wrong about that, by the way, because it has the effect of making people examine abortion more closely. I did many, many years ago. Lots of people have. This is a major issue, and other things come and go, including presidential candidates and foreign policy issues. But this thing, abortion, has been a stubborn American issue, certainly since Roe v. Wade in 1973. And who knows what the resolution will be.
He is Jay Nordlinger, senior editor for the National Review, music critic for the New Criterion. You can look forward to his review of my review of Childish Gambino, I'm sure, in the New Criterion.
Already a thumbs up. As those great Chicagoans, Ebert and Siskel would have done 2 thumbs up. I'm giving you both.
Thank you. Jay Nordlinger, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.